Oh, finally Skeet gets here. Tell you what, they wait all day. They wait all day for you, Skeeter.
Oh, I thought we were Jetstar, but we're actually maybe AirAsia's
Tiger,
Bonza, because they're completely rooted. This is going beautifully. Monday afternoon almost. Great to be. I was here about 4 hours ago, but didn't quite have the keys to the plane. Hopefully, the delay hasn't upset you too much.
Okay, welcome to the Shelter FootyCast live here from BackChat Studios. We apologise for the delay. Few issues, but we are here to bring you a few issues. And Schoey's a little bit testy this morning, but that's okay, Skeeter. Hey, mate, thanks for coming in for the second time today. We'll get into it. We're going to get straight into it, In fact, Shelter FootyCast on socials. You can sign up as a VIP, do that. Not giving anything away right now. I don't think we're doing the thing on Thursday night at the Leaderville Hotel. We're getting straight into the footy. Let's do it. I'm going to start with this. And I feel bad because I'm the one banging on in the media saying, let's just settle down with this kid, this person. Harley Reid. I mean, I don't know if we've seen anything better out of a first-year player.
Well, there's been some headlines about that today, haven't there? It's always so hard to compare. Look, he's done some really nice things. Chris Judd was outstanding. Nick Dacos, you can go through it. I don't even worry about comparing him. He's just great to watch. It was one of those moments yesterday when he kicks that goal after bouncing his way out of the centre square. It was just a crowd reaction, and the engagement they had with him is pretty special.
Very few players have the ability, if they play well, their team wins. You could have the best player in St Kilda. I don't know if St Kilda gets up. If Harley Reid plays well and he kicks a couple of goals, has 20, breaks some tackles, West Coast are probably going to win. I don't know if there's many players that can do that in the AFL.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's at that level. I mean, Wayne Carey was a player that if he dominated, his team tended to win games. Yeah. I think what we've seen, and I mentioned during 6PR last night, I think this looks like a rebuilding side that will perform pretty darn well at home and really competitively by and large. It's the away stuff. And I think Adam Simpson said something like that after the game. So I wouldn't be saying that the whole wheels turn, but certainly at home, I don't think there's been a dud performance by the Eagles at Optus Stadium this year. I stand corrected. I can't recall. Were they beaten early on by...
First couple, they went 50, 60, 70. GWS.
No, but here, Port away. But at home, maybe it was the GWS game, they got touched up a bit. But since then, by and large, put it this way, since they played the Swans in Adelaide, they've been knocked over by the Bulldogs. They've been belted by Collingwood, both away from home. But their home form's been pretty good. And
if you can think back to West Coast back in the day a little bit, there's criticism around their form away from home. With a young side, which they are, you're going to get that. I don't know if you get the down tick because you're away from home, but you're going to get the uptick from the crowd. You were there yesterday calling the footy, and you can hear the crowd. As a young player, it's only natural, whether it's ego or confidence or
adrenaline,
whatever it is. If the crowd is carrying on like West Coast crowd has been doing, that's going to make you play better. And if you do a big defensive act and you get a big cheer, you think, might do that again. It's only human nature to cop it.
No question. I'm not so sure they're that young though. I mean, look at North Melbourne, Hawthorn. No, when they've got their senior players back, they've got a decent blend. But it was a really good performance. I've got to say, Nam were disappointing. I thought they were poor.
Terrible.
Inside 50 entries, really favouring the Eagles. So they did a lot right. I'm going to ask you a quick question. I haven't seen the coaches' votes come out just yet, but who did you give, if you're doing the Brownlow votes, who are you giving your 3 to? Because Carl and I had a discussion. He went one way, I went slightly different, but I don't think it's a right or wrong answer.
My top 3 were, in no particular order, Harley Reid, Tim Kelly, Jake Waterman.
Yeah, I think that they're the 3. He had Kelly, I had sort of Waterman and Reid. If they don't come out that way on Brownlow night, I'll be a bit surprised.
Yeah, they're the 3, but there's certainly other contributors to what West Coast are doing. Now, we'll get into that West Coast game in a little bit. If we can just stay on West Coast, though, with another sort of, off-the-park type news. Elliot Yeo has been reportedly offered 3-year deal at Adelaide. Front-ended, 1.3 in his first year. So it's a three-ish over 3 mil over 3 years at Adelaide. Apparently, Ryan Daniels, our good friend, reporting that Adelaide are at the front of the line for his services. Big money for a man that, as we sit here today, is not playing AFL football because of his body.
I wouldn't be offering him a 3-year deal.
No, but I mean, you and I don't make decisions.
No, but not on his football ability. And they won't be the only club reaching out to him.
Yes.
But 3 years, I'm not sure the Eagles will be offering him a 3-year deal. So certainly not that money.
Regardless of what you and I would do and what other clubs would do, if you're Elliot Yeo,
yes,
if you're Elliot, who's been he's not a one club player. He started at Brisbane, came home because of home sickness, effectively, has been 2-time best and fairest winner, premiership player, has been shown a lot of confidence by the football club in rehabbing him and I guess paying him a lot of money to not output on the field. Are you looking at those offers and do you entertain them? Is the difference of a year or maybe $1 million, is that enough to go, well, I need to think about myself and myself only in this sort of circumstance?
It depends what the differential is between what the Eagles offer him. We spoke to Don Pike. There's an offer on the table.
Right.
Now, I've got no idea. I don't think it'll be 3 years. Would you think it'll be 3 years for Elliot at the end of this year?
It would be poor business. It would be poor business by West Coast to do that.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I think I could see 2 years on the table. Yep. The dollars, I've got no idea. That's not my area of expertise by any means. But I would, as you say, if you're Elliot and you offer 3 at dollars that are well and truly above what you're getting, you're entitled to look at it. I think he'd like to stay here. He's got family. His dad's been a bit crook recently. I think there's strong reasons for him to stay here, but also he's got to think of his post-football life, which is fast approaching.
Does not last forever, Skeeter. Big in the hospitality business, so he can go and rub maybe the family pub or something like that.
Well, yeah, I know, but you're right.
I wouldn't bemoan him. I don't even know if that's a word. If he goes away,
begrudge him.
Yeah, thank you. And if he gets a $3 million deal and West Coast have got $2 million on the table. You're a football player for probably 3 more years, maybe 4 max. You're probably going to look at leveraging.
I think it'd be a really bold move by Adelaide if that's the case. Gee whiz, to invest, again, not as a player. We know what he can do, but we don't know what his body's going to continue doing.
Talking about Adelaide, a bit of a moment in the Collingwood-Adelaide game. Adelaide coming home hard at the MCG against Collingwood, who always find a way to win these games. You can't even question it anymore. Like that. Until they don't, they're winning, right? This is like Essendon. You can't pick them until they're good. You can't pick against Collingwood in a close game until they stop winning them. Isaac Rankin gets the ball on the wing, out of stoppage, 20 seconds remaining. The only chance Adelaide have it is to roll the dice. They flip it forward out of the stoppage. He comes streaming out, takes about 10 steps, has a bounce, and then continues to run down the wing. Right on kicking, he kicks it inside their forward line. And there's nothing saying here that Collingwood don't stop the ball. In fact, they probably do, and they probably did. It continued playing because no one heard the whistle. Collingwood would win this game. This didn't lose it for Adelaide.
No.
Were you happy to see this one called back for running too far?
I was happy to see it called back for 2 reasons. One, because you were so adamant Adelaide would win. I tipped Collingwood just to win.
Yes.
I did tip Adelaide with
what a fucking brilliant pick that would have been.
At the line, I think 15, so I was a bit of trouble early in the game, but towards the end I thought, here we go. And to hear you blow up just obscenely at Crown on Saturday night and getting all flustered about the fact is, you're a Fox employee, correct?
I'm many people's
the Fox,
employee.
yes, me, you and I both. What we did find out from the Fox lab, 24 metres was how far he ran. Now, I know you think, and David Mundy bought into this as well, you think just let him go run as far as he wants. He thinks, David asked you, do you think you should umpire in a situational sense
yes, I do.
Late in the game,
yes,
as opposed to the rules?
Yes, I do. And the reason I do, okay, I saw the Fox lab. He ran too far. Okay? Congratulations. Go to this idiot. Just go.
I just think it's great you blowing up over,
Isaac Rankin ran too far. I was wrong. I thought the decision was incorrect. And the reason I thought it was incorrect, maybe by the letter of the law, it was a correct decision. And when I say maybe, I mean by the letter of the law.
It was a correct decision.
It was a correct decision. But I don't think we see that consistently called across AFL games, especially late in the game. So
I agree.
Late in the game, when you've got a player bursting out of the pack, if I put this to David Mundy, if the reverse happened, if the call was not made, would anyone in Australia be speaking about why wasn't that call for running too far?
Only if his kick had landed on the chest of Walker, who kicks the goal.
I don't think it's. I still don't think it's.
Collingwood fans would have blown up. Only if they'd lost.
They would have, and that's saying something. Given the Collingwood fans are about as easy as.
No, I do agree with you. I do agree. If that hadn't been called, I don't think you're going to have too many people causing the ruckus they have. I think the problem is, for the Crows, in brief, they've been absolutely unlucky on a couple of counts when it comes to
Multiple.
umpiring.
Yep.
Against Collingwood as well, Jordan Dawson going back in time at the weekend. Collingwood deserved to win that game, in my opinion.
So do I.
Crows, brave, but not good enough. They draw, they lose by less than a kick. Their finals chance is gone.
And just a little, okay, good. That's enough on that. Luke Parker is trying to get back in the Sydney side. Former captain of the club. They're going beautifully. Best side in the competition by a fair way, I reckon.
Yes, at the moment.
Luke Parker playing in the VFL. Did you see the hit? It's been reportedly, he has been, they think he's going to get 3 to 4 weeks. It was an off-the-ball hit, effectively. His teammate had the ball and he was coming to block an opposition player. So if you didn't see it, that's pretty much what happened, Skeeter. Old mate who he's got has gone to hospital, cheekbone issues. It looked like it might have been a head clash from mine. Very difficult to see from the vision. I watched it, and if you've seen it, I think there needs to be greater responsibility, and this goes a bit broadly across the head knocks we're starting to see. There needs to be greater responsibility on the opposing player. This one here in particular, he was 5 metres from the ball. Luke Parker didn't blindside him. He came from front on. If you had any sort of awareness, you would have seen him coming. When you're on the football field, you need to be aware that you may get hit in the head. It is not in a protected species. You can't run around just expecting no contact. You can't run around expecting things won't happen. And that's not saying that what Luke Parker did was right or wrong. I just think there needs to be more responsibility on everybody. It can't just be on the sole responsibility of the person making the contact. Now, that might be controversial, perhaps, given what we've seen over the past however long with players out of the game with head knocks. There has to be a responsibility on the person picking up the ball, with their head just blatantly thrown at it in front of people, and someone clips them with their hip. There has to be a responsibility on the person going for the ball as well. We can't just have ultimate protection of the head. What do you think about that?
I think Luke Parker, I just love the way he plays footy. I don't think there's a malicious bone in his body in that sense. He's hard, he's tough. So, again, without having had a close look at that one, what I would say is, I do agree with you, we also have to, at some stage, try and work out a way to penalise players that drive with the ball in the hand, not saying they're trying to get the ball, with ball, trying to extract that high front-on contact, which we've seen it from a few players. That, to me, should almost be holding the ball.
Holding the ball's the way to penalise it, right?
Yeah.
Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shuttle FootyCast. Because you're so late, Skeeter, we're going to keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You should have seen the consternation here as they're looking for the keys to the car. It was like, did you put it under the rug?
We pulled the whole place apart. It wasn't the keys to the car.
Have you found it?
It was the SD card, which is what we saved the audio on. Have not found it. I still think...
It's someone's fault, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're going to kill them when you find it.
And it's not mine. So that's why I'm angry about it. If it's my fault, I don't get angry. That's okay, Skeeter. We're going to get into the games. We're going to whip through these. Euroke.
Yes.
Defeated by... Well, you'll laugh. Sorry, I'm rattled. Freo beat St Kilda. Let's be honest. This was a dour affair, mate. You and I called this together. I did not enjoy watching this game. It was terrible. It was terrible to watch.
9-18. I think it was 9 successive points kicked or something stupid by the Dockers. Let's put a positive spin on this. Let's say they had 27 shots at goal or thereabouts. They're getting looks. They're taking marks inside 50. St Kilda, and I've got to be honest with you, you've called this out. You said they get beaten by 6 or 7 goals.
They should have.
If you look at the way the match ended up, they probably should have been at least 5 goals adrift at the end. They have got issues with regards to some players not finishing. That being said, there's some positives out of what was that Ross Lyon was going to send a stopper to Caleb Sarong, and he's going to try and limit Jordan Clark again, which didn't work.
29 disposals.
So, it's one of those ugly wins, though. You just get it in the bank and keeps their season alive. They lose to St Kilda. I thought, that's it. They're done. They're dusted.
Is that correct? I don't think it is.
What?
Yeah, well, you're up 9th on the ladder right now, which is, not in the top 8. I think...
Yours Carlton, by the way.
A couple of things that are... One thing, St Kilda knew they were getting Ross the Boss. They knew what they were signing up for, right? So I don't think they can be complaining too much from St Kilda fans. You knew what you were getting, and this is what you're getting. A defensive, dour...
I think the only time he's actually, as a coach, finished points for in the top 6 of the competition once, I think 2009. I think you might have seen the same stat rolled out by Rowan Connolly. That is indicative. Bear in mind his defensive setups have been terrific, but if you're to win premierships, you have to be more offensively efficient.
There is a lot of positives on the way the Dockers went about it.
Yep.
They did connect in their forward line. They had the opportunities. They didn't kick goals. So Jai Amos kicked 2 goals, 5. Bailey Banfield was errant.
His technique looks a bit suspect.
Yes, and you can go through that list. There's a couple of frustrating things for me at Freo. Andrew Brayshaw took them until the third quarter to inject him properly into the middle of the ground. He had 12 disposals, 6 clearances, best player on the ground. He is their best midfielder. I think he's better than Sarong. Now, different players, but I think overall, Andy Brayshaw, they're both great players. And this isn't a sledge on Sarong, but I think he's their best player.
Well, you were right. And you called this. You said, look, about time they get Brayshaw in where it's required.
They need to start him on ball. Now, if that means Nat Fyfe's got to come out of the side because of the balance of the midfield, because that's why Brayshaw's out of there right now. They're starting him on wings and on half forwards because you can't play 5 midfielders in there, right? They've got Jackson plus the 3 mids, and it's Fyfe, Young, and Sarong that are starting on ball.
And you can't play 5 forward anymore.
Right.
I mean, isn't it amazing 12 months ago or thereabouts,
He was at full forward.
he was being considered a forward. And now, and this is, again, from a dual Brownlow medalist, you're actually worried when he's got ball in hand about when he kicks the ball, particularly at goal. It's almost, you think he's less than a 50-50 chance. And field kicking's become an issue as well. But I know we discussed this last week, but that's just another element of what we saw on the weekend.
I don't care who it is. If it's Matt Johnson, if it's Nat Fyfe, if it's Hayden Young back, if whatever you need to do, you need to get Andy Brayshaw on the ball to start the game and full time on ball. I'm not talking start him in there for 3 minutes to get the first centre bounce and then push him forward. You need to play him as an outright midfielder because you're not getting the impact from him that you need. And I do understand the positivity around what they're doing, but I still think there's a lot of negative. They look fumbly at times. The first option's not getting given. They played a terrible side. St Kilda's no good.
No, you're right.
Unfortunately. So,
but what I'd like to see is the times I thought there was some really slickness about them. It's when you get the ball in the hands of Hayden Young. Now, he can just kick the ball to space. It just looks like a simple game at times when he's got the footy. So, yeah, look, there are a lot of positives. I thought Luke Jackson and Ryan Marshall had a terrific battle.
yeah, that was big, wasn't it?
It really begs the question now of this Friday if Darcy comes back, which it sounds like he will.
Not this again.
Well, Jackson, he looks a better player when he's involved in general play.
His timing looks well off for mine. I mentioned this on the coverage. He's not getting his timing right at contests. So whether that be around the ruck, he went head to head with Rowan Marshall, but in aerial contests, which is his biggest strength, I think, like his athleticism when the ball hits the ground, but him running and jumping at marks. Not many players in the AFL can do it like Luke Jackson. I think his timing's just off.
Just off. I think he's far off it though, is he?
Correct. So he needs to be settled down. He's trained the whole preseason as a forward. The last week before round 1, you go, okay, you have to be solo ruck. He does that. Sean Darcy comes back into the side. Okay, now you're a forward again. You're pinch hitting, just starting to get his way there. Sean Darcy does his calf. You're now at ruckman. So look, I feel sorry for him in and out of roles. It's difficult to flip your mindset. There's enough there to say Freo can play finals for mine to finish off on this.
Yeah, there's a big question mark because they're outside the 8, so's Carlton, so's the Bulldogs are playing some good footy.
Pretty big game coming up Friday night.
Massive game for them.
Collingwood.
We'll discuss it on Thursday, providing everything works in here. We'll make sure we break that game down. But it's going to be really we've seen. Unfortunately, Whaley Lup struggle on the big stage at times. They did it against Sydney. The better sides, they haven't proved themselves yet.
Can you bring in maybe like have you got one of those
battery charger?
Yeah, like a battery charger or like a
You're asking me.
Like a typewriter. Maybe we can do it that. We can send it in to everybody.
Mate, I'm like one of those Balinese boys up in those light towers in Denpasar, just trying to put the thing.
Why? Oh my God, they're just like rolls of cables coming around. That's what it's like in here sometimes. Okay, West Coast defeat Melbourne. That is Woolwich Marawa v Nam. They were all over them. They bullied them, which is a little bit of an indictment on the Nam Footy Club. They took it up to Max Gawn, so they had a clear plan of attack there. Don't let him have an easy run around the ground. And Bailey Williams, I think, needs to look at how he played, and he should try and do that to most ruckmen. Now, Max Gawn would be on the plane on the way home, probably in business class, mind you, and he'd be thinking, geez, that was a tough game.
Yeah.
And for Bailey Williams, if he could do that to most ruckmen he plays on, it's difficult to do, but like that's a real advantage for the West Coast.
Well, you call for him to doesn't have to win his contest with Max, but just halve contests everywhere you go, and that's if you can do that and much more, which I think he's entitled to put his hand up and say, yeah, he had a really good night. And look, Waterman ends up with 5. He's just had a really good year.
Outrageous at the moment.
29 goals, joins 3 other players, King, Hogan and Curnow in the Coleman medal. He's had a big pre-season where the big dogs like Kennedy and Allen aren't there at the moment. So he's sort of giving himself a bit more space, and he's become a focal point. But tell you what, it's one of the better seasons. His best season by a mile.
West Coast do not have a ruckman, right? I think Bailey Williams is a forward trying his best in the ruck, but Matt Flynn's 2 weeks away. I think he's going to play footy this weekend, not at AFL level.
So Eagles, whoever they're playing,
in the waffle. Elliot Yeo is not playing, their best midfielder.
You don't think he'll go to Adelaide? You think he's a while out?
Sorry, I mean right now.
Oh, okay. So do you think he has a chance to come back this week?
I think so, yep. And then Oscar Allen's about 2 or 3 weeks away, their best forward at the start of the year, right? They're missing 3 pretty good players, and they put a performance like that out. That should give Eagles fans a fair bit of confidence.
They got the Saints, they got North to come. What have they won? 3?
They Adelaide, Saints, North Melbourne, the next 3. Is that right?
Yeah. So look, Adelaide probably away. They'll hard. I think they'll start favourites, or they will start favourites against the Saints in North Melbourne here, which suddenly 5, 6, 7 wins becomes really attainable.
More than my 0 I had at the start of the year, Skeeter. But as you know, mate, they get a lot right.
0 from 10 North Melbourne. So they're one team that could find themselves with a donut.
We spoke about Harley Reid off the top. He was outstanding. I thought Jack Darling was very good. I thought Jeremy McGovern. I still think Jeremy McGovern's playing his best footy I've ever seen him play.
Really?
Does that mean he's All-Australian? Maybe not, but in his All-Australian years, he's sort of that standout back. What I think he's doing now is the team stuff, which is, to be fair, he's always done. But I just think he's playing so well in that back line and holding them together. Like they had 16 intercept marks, I think, yesterday. They just had a wall of defence, and I think it's a big part of him. Tom Barris, senior player, and Tom Cole in his 100th game was the best game I've seen him play this year. Dom Sheed, the tagger. I ran into Sheeder last night, and he said that perhaps they were thinking about bringing a number 3 back into the locker room, putting it in front of his 4, making him 34, i.e. Mark Hutchings from back in the day. So he was really happy to have a role. He has been struggling for confidence, not only his body but his ability, because he hasn't played a lot of footy. And to have a role like that on Clayton Oliver, had him at the coalface. Beat your man, gives you a real clear directive, this is what we need you to do. And then he's a good enough footballer to get around the ground and do that. I thought he looked really good.
So is that possibly Dom's future moving forward? And look, sometimes you said it, and I hate giving you credit where you say something that has come to fruition, but you did say that let's try and give a player, and you did mention but a player who may not be thinking about a cooler role, as they say. He's been given that, and maybe Adam Simpson says, okay, you're happy playing that role, and he might say, yep, leave it to me.
Kelly, Yo, Jimby, they'd all be in front of him at the moment in the midfield. You need someone who's willing to sacrifice their game.
Yeah.
And that could be him.
Absolutely. You mentioned Jack Darling in brief. I think it was 11 or 12 tackles. So numbers-wise, I think he only had 13 disposals, but I just need to point out, because Jack gets whacked pretty regularly, but I'm pretty sure double digits tackles next to his name.
But that's what he built his game on as a young player. He came into the side as a defensive player, right? And it hasn't been. He had 12 tackles. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
That's huge numbers.
Yeah, that's amazing. And for him, and that's why he's looking better. His defensive side, and then he's attacking. He's a good forward. Took a couple of big marks, hit 3 goals. Good game. All right, Skeet, let's keep moving. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. Skeeter, we're going to do this in 10 minutes. Does that sound good?
That sounds brilliant.
Sydney defeat Carlton, smashed them all over them. Couldn't have been better. Best side in the comp.
Yeah, they conceded the first 4 goals as well, which from that point on...
Thanks for coming.
It was all over.
Heaney, Warner.
Heaney and Warner. I've mentioned some WA players you wouldn't mind getting back to the West. I'm getting closer to thinking, you got Norton. You've got, just hypothetically, you've got English. Warner's got to be in the conversation.
I'd say Warner over both of those guys at the moment.
Wow, well, there you go. And that's saying something given what English and Norton, and you rate Norton really highly. But that was another performance by the Swans, and dare I say it, we love the Budster, but they are looking at a team now that is... they're a bit more complete going forward, a bit more rounded. And they just took care of Carlton with consummate ease. What is it? After half-time, 10 goals to 4, 52 points. Thanks for coming. Robbie Fox with a shoulder injury, Jacob Wiedering with a thigh.
Mate. So there's footage of Michael Voss coming out in a press conference saying about 6 weeks ago, hey, we're not letting the guys rest. We're actually ramping up training. We might not be as tidy as we usually are. Well, they've had a shitload of injuries. So there'll be questions being asked there. Jacob Wiedering, as you said, out with a thigh. James Jordan, I thought, for what it's worth, absolutely dominated Sam Walsh. Can we have more teams with roles? We saw it with Oliver last night and Max Gawn and Bailey Williams. Give some roles. Stop trying to take teams on and think that your system's better than the other side.
Is that just ego by coaches?
Absolutely it is. It's bullshit, Skeeter. Collingwood v Adelaide at the MCG. This was a close one. We spoke about the ranking incident. I think Collingwood deserved this game. 42 disposals from our man Nick Dacos, Skeeter.
He was brilliant. I think they stretched them early, really got hold of them, and Collingwood, I thought, deserved to win. You mentioned Dacos.
Penderbury's still running around as a midfielder with all their injuries. He just goes in there, has 30 kicks too. Like, he was probably the best player on the ground.
He could play for another year, couldn't he?
It's outrageous. North Melbourne, get your shit together, go get him.
Yeah, Collingwood,
he's not
too good. 4 points. They win the close ones. We have discussed it. And they're suddenly in 5th position.
Correct. And they just keep winning.
I wrote them off. You wrote them off. The footy world.
I don't think I wrote them off.
I'd love to rewrite history. Who did you select in this game, by the way? You picked Adelaide. I know that for a fact. So let's keep going.
Okay, GWS defeat the Bulldogs. Look, GWS were poor. I can't say anything else about this one. It was wet. It was slippery. It was a dour affair at times, but the Bulldogs wanted it more. GWS couldn't win the contested ball at the source, and the Bulldogs could. And GWS, hey, I'm not going to say they're no good, but they're going no good. Like, they haven't been in games. They beat Brisbane, who knows where they're at the moment. GWS, big question marks at the moment. What's happening with them?
Yeah, so much. I mean, expectation about them for this year. I mean, Jesse Hogan kicked 3 goals, but you're right. We watched some of this game, I think, on the TV, and it was a hard watch. It was slippery and wet, and there was a bit of wind around, but it was an ugly game of football. I've got to say, Adam Treloar, at his 3rd club, is it?
Yep.
I thought he was outstanding. Just watching him
35 touches, 7 clearances.
Yeah, he was terrific. So Treloar, Richards a good player. James Harms, I think, playing his best game since moving across from Melbourne.
Hey, and they kept Bont out of it. He had 18 disposals. The Western Bulldogs. Callum Ward tagged him, so they've done it without their best player.
And they've done a walley up. They've almost kicked themselves out of the 8 goals, 22. So that margin of 27 points, a bit like that Dockers game, should be closer to 7 or 8 goals. And it does now make this game this week. We'll talk about it later. But Geelong, GWS in the Cattery this Saturday, I think it is. That's massive.
GWS have won their last 3 in Geelong.
Is that right?
Which is outrageous behaviour.
Good
but
call.
I could see them winning that, Skeeter. So look out on Thursday when I go and pick them. Brisbane defeat Richmond. 120-point loss. I'm not breaking this one down. Richmond are absolutely no good. We've said that on the pod. They've got a lot of injuries. Plus, they've come off the back of the premiership success. Adam Uze, toughest job in football. All of that sort of stuff. Brisbane just a walk in the park at the Gabba.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much we take. Well, maybe Brisbane does because of, winning a game like that, maybe it just kickstarts their season. Their draw, as you said, is not bad. Lafau out with a jaw. They've got injuries left, right and centre.
They may not win another game for the year.
Well, they and North Melbourne, clearly the 2 most vulnerable sides in it. And for what it's worth, Charlie Cameron finally gets going, kicks 5. Lohman kicks 5 as well. That's an indication of where the Tigers are at. And, Brisbane, where do that leave them? That puts them 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th.
Still haven't lost one in those games that I said they win all 6, Skeeter.
No, you've got a perfect record in all your predictions recently.
Essendon v North Melbourne, another one of these. Look, watch this. North Melbourne were competitive for the first half. Essendon then just put the foot down, and I think it was one of those games that you'd probably come in Monday review and not really look at too much. North Melbourne are becoming uncompetitive if they aren't already. Darcy Parish and who was the other one? They pulled 2 people late withdrawals here from Essendon. You wouldn't expect anything less from a Scott brother, which I thought was disappointing. Well, mate, it's just bullshit that what they do with that sort of stuff. Darcy Parish was in my dream team, so it caused me a lot of grief on the Sunday. Yeah,
Peter Wright, 4 goals. Guelphy, 3. Their forward line, it doesn't just jump out off the page at you, but let's be honest, they're sitting second. They've done 7. They've lost 2. They've drawn 1. They're playing finals.
Can pick them, absolutely. Don't worry about that. Who are they playing next week, Skeeter?
They've got the Tigers at the MCG. That's a dream. It's not quite dream time match, is it? Surely.
I'm not quite sure, but they'll win that.
They'll win that for sure, absolutely. So, yeah, they're happy days for the Bombers, and yeah, well done to them. I'm happy. I like seeing clubs that have been down and out to get a chance, and the Bombers supporters, they'll be feral. They'll be all over it. As Mike Tyson will say, he's fat and he's funky.
What?
He said that about his opponent.
About Tyson. He also
Like
said
Tyson.
I don't know, he's talking about stiffies and all sorts of
It was
things.
a great press conference. It was like, who's the bloke?
I'm not sure either of them are all there.
Who's the influencer? What's his name? Jake Paul. Can he fight?
Oh, who knows, mate? He'd be getting a fair bit of money, though. I think he'd be happy with that.
Yep.
Port Adelaide defeat Hawthorn in one of the great comebacks, it must be said. And one of the great fails by a footy club in Hawthorn. They're up by 40 points at stages.
I remember Sam Mitchell saying a year or so ago, we're not at the point where we're going to start working on the last 2 minutes of a game because they'd lost a tight game.
Right.
To try and manage it. And they simply, from what we saw on the TV, they were trying to save that game of footy as opposed to win it. And it's so hard. I know they kicked the last 6 goals to power. They flew home. Rioli kicks a goal, goes inside 50. Butter's outstanding. Burn Jones off the deck.
They'd be spewing. Hawthorn would be spewing today. Like, that is a game that you cannot lose.
Can you tell me, I'm still perplexed by Power. In brief, they smashed Geelong for a half, then they stop. They did nothing in the first half against Hawthorn. They win. Are they lucky or are they very good?
They are inconsistent. And I don't think
they're not a premiership threat in my mind.
But I don't think Geelong's very good. So I think the win against Geelong's not that impressive.
Okay.
So I don't have Port Adelaide challenging Sydney.
Who drops out of the 8 now? Because it's still pretty fluid.
Collingwood's better than them. I don't know. It's a fair bit going on, isn't it? Geelong and GWS are putting their hands up to get their way out of there pretty quickly. Hey, we didn't, talking about Geelong, we missed, I missed Gold Coast Geelong Thursday night.
Yeah, it's a thrashing, wasn't it? What about 26-8 to 15-10? It's like going back to the 1980s.
It was good to watch. It was actually good to watch high scoring.
And of course, like an imbecile texts me at sort of 8 o'clock. I was just doing the jumper presentation for WA, who, by the way, got smashed by 63 points yesterday. That was a good game to commentate. Schoey, is Geelong still the best team right now? And I thought, well, clearly they're not, but I did tip them on our Shelter FootyCast on Thursday, and you, as in the Suns, and you tipped Geelong. So I was just a bit confused by you having a sledge at me. You tipped the Cats to beat the Suns up there.
Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. And let's just keep that laugh going because we're into our fan section, Skeeter. And this one comes in from Addy Wetzler. And
Addy's the CEO of East Fremantle.
CEO of East Fremantle.
Tell him to stay in his lane.
So hello, Addy. So Addy, big listener of the Shelter FootyCast. And that chuckle was fitting, Skeeter. If you don't know why I didn't come back at you for your little sledge just there, let's just see what Addy's got to say. Let me set the scene. This is from Addy. Waffle State Squad jumper presentation last night. So this came in on the Friday.
On the Friday, yeah.
Right, so you just said you were there, so you definitely were there.
I was MC, yeah.
Players are out on mineral resources, final training session. Parents and partners, club representative, WAFC commissioners are watching a who's who of West Australian football. Perth's number one MC, the voice of the waffle, is there, ready to work his magic behind the mic, suited up, looks $1 million. He takes a seat in a Perth Football Club sponsor's lounge armchair. He pulls out his phone. Is he reading his speech notes, memorising player statistics, preparing himself for a Q&A with the state team coach or captain? None of the above if you're playing along at home. Time for a quick punt on the Tab Touch app. Never change, Skeeter. Let's have a look at Mark Redding. We've had the photo sent in from the CEO of the East Freo Football Club. Mark Redding's just bald scone, suited up, in a nice big lounge chair, having a punt.
And having just no alcohol, what is it with you blokes? You're like stalkers. I mean, seriously, people are getting charged around the place for what you guys are doing. And Addy Wetzler should know better. Being a CEO, that's what he's going to do. Going around to, if I go to the toilet, he's going to be wandering out of there. I mean, seriously.
So.
I mean, this is just poor form. Yeah, I was having a look at the markets. I had backed the Gold Coast Suns. I was just checking to see how life was going. Happy days.
Checking the Yugoslavian darts competition, round 3.
We've all got our vices, William.
I just thought it was brilliant reporter work there from one of
He's been an absolute dickhead and he knows
it. Very good, mate. We're going to wrap this up, Skeeter and Schoey. We're done. There's some great user interaction, but that's fine. Make sure you follow us on Shelter FootyCast. FootyCast at BackChatStudios.com.au, Skeeter. I'm sorry for the hold up, mate.
No, it's good. I'm on hold regularly.
More photos of Mark Reddings. Send them in.